My husband's $2 million plan, and my daughter's whisper to flee. My name is Nora. I'm 36 years old, and I work as a curator at a private gallery specializing in contemporary art in Portland. I don't fuss much about how I look, but my job means I always have to be neat, simple midi dresses, hair tied back, and a touch of light mascara. People say my smile puts them at ease. But lately, I don't even trust my own feelings. I live with my husband, Liam, a real estate businessman, and our 6-year-old daughter, Sophie. Our home sits in the southern part of the city, near a peaceful neighborhood surrounded by oak trees and a pond that glows under the moonlight. It's a 2-story house with a pointed, old-fashioned roof, rebuilt from a structure almost 90 years old. When we first moved in, Liam laughed. If there are ghosts, I'll invite them for tea. But lately, I feel like I'm the one living with something unseen, something cold and unkind. My mom passed away 3 months ago, out of the blue, while on a trip in Nevada. It was a heart attack. Sudden, with no signs, leaving just a will already sent to the family lawyer. She left me nearly $3 million, mostly from investments and property. I haven't touched a penny, not because I don't need it, but because something feels wrong. Since the funeral, Liam has been acting strange, not distant, but always busy. Late-night phone calls, surprise meetings, and quiet talks I catch bits of when I pass his office. Whenever I ask, he brushes it off with a smile. You're worrying too much, Nora. I'm just building our future. I want to believe him, but deep inside, a cold fear grips me. Sophie, my little girl with wavy hair and hazel eyes, has always lived in her own magical world. She could turn a stick into a fairy wand or see a cloud as a dancing bear. But lately, she's been so quiet. She often sits by the dining room window, staring out at the yard with a blank look. What are you looking at, Sophie? I asked one morning while slicing apples. She didn't turn around. Don't you see the shapes moving near the trees? They're talking to each other. I froze, the knife still in my hand. You're imagining things again. Sophie turned to me, her eyes steady and serious, making my heart skip a beat. It's not imagination. They're talking about you. I wanted to ask more, but Liam came downstairs, fixing his tie and grinning. I've got to head out early today. Meeting with some investors from Singapore. If it goes well, we'll take a big trip. Sophie, what do you want Daddy to bring you from Singapore? She didn't answer. I forced a smile, but my mind was still spinning from Sophie's words. I walked Liam to the door and watched his black SUV drive down the dirt path. A chilly wind made me pull my sweater tighter. Even though the sun was shining, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was watching me, not from far away, but close. Maybe inside our own house. It all started with my mom's death, and I'm terrified I might be next. 3 days after Liam left for Singapore, Sophie barely moved from the dining room window. She drew a lot, but not her usual butterflies or stars. Every picture showed a house wrapped in dark, swirling lines, with shadowy figures standing behind the windows. I asked her what she was drawing, and she said, the ones who were waiting. Waiting for who? Waiting for you to see the truth. I was used to Sophie's wild imagination, but the way she spoke, slow, clear, without blinking, sent shivers down my spine. That night, I looked through her sketchbook. One page was ripped out, and the next showed our house covered in blue streaks, with a tall woman in the middle, either asleep or not moving. I tried to push the thoughts away, maybe I was overreacting. Still sad about Mom, but things got weirder that Friday afternoon when I was cleaning the attic. I found an old wooden box tucked under a loose floorboard. Inside was a notebook with no name on the cover. It held rough sketches of the house, or the original building from years ago. The drawings showed a hidden passage, a narrow tunnel from behind the pantry to a secret room under the ground, separate from the main basement. It wasn't mentioned in last year's home inspection. When I brought the notebook downstairs, Sophie looked up from her puzzle and said, I've seen that. I stopped cold. Seen what? That tunnel. In my dreams, a voice told me to show you the way. I swallowed hard. What voice? Grandma's. I nearly dropped the notebook. That evening, while I was washing dishes, Sophie pulled a stool over and whispered, You shouldn't be here alone at night. They don't like you being here. Sophie, don't say things like that. I heard Daddy talking to someone. He said, if you were gone, everything would be better. I stared at her. Where did you hear that? His office. I was sitting by the door. He didn't see me. I tried to stay calm, but my stomach twisted. That night, I crept into Liam's office. The computer was locked. The drawers wouldn't open, but in the trash, I found crumpled papers. There was a map of our home security system labeled Total Lockdown Mode. Another page was a blueprint of the house, with a note underlined in red. Make sure there are no hidden exits. I sank to the floor, my head spinning. What is going on? My phone buzzed with a text from Liam. Need to stay a few more days. Big deal. Don't call. Then a call came from an unknown number. I hesitated, then answered. Miss Nora, this is Linda Carter, loan officer at Evergreen Bank. I'm calling to confirm a request to close the savings account under your mother's name. Margaret Hayes. Close the account? I gripped the phone. I never requested that. Oh, the woman paused. The signature on file is yours. But I'm sorry. I can't share more without legal permission. I hung up, my hands shaking. Liam, he's trying to take my mom's money. When I walked into the bedroom, Sophie was sitting on the bed, clutching her teddy bear, staring out the window. Mom, she whispered. It's starting. What is? The shadows in the yard. I see them. They're getting closer. I ran to the window. A dark van was parked near the house. Its lights off. No one got out, but I could feel it. Someone watching us through the glass. I grabbed Sophie's hand, my heart pounding. For the first time in my life, I was too scared to breathe. Something broke inside me, trust, safety, the idea that this house was our safe place. Now it felt like a cage, a trap, and someone, or several someones, was waiting for me to step right into it. I couldn't sleep that night, even after locking every window, closing the curtains, and holding Sophie close in my arms. I kept feeling like someone was watching us, from outside, or worse, from inside the house. The next morning, while Sophie was still asleep, I went back to Liam's office. This time, I wasn't just looking, I was searching with purpose. I opened drawers, checked behind shelves, even took apart a framed photo on the desk. At the bottom of a dusty gray box, I found a thick envelope sealed with blue string. The label read, Northwest Life Insurance. Nora M. Thompson. My hands shook as I opened it. Inside was a life insurance policy worth $2.5 million. The beneficiary, Liam R. Thompson. The signing date, 1 week after my mom's funeral. It hit me like a blow to the chest. I never signed any recent insurance papers. The signature looked like mine, but the lines were shaky. Not my usual style. Underneath was a handwritten note. Unsigned. Finish all paperwork by the 25th. Ensure nothing can be traced back. Especially to her. I shut the file fast when I heard a noise in the hall. But it was just Sophie. She walked in, holding her teddy bear, eyes still sleepy. I dreamed about Grandma, Sophie whispered. She said, Don't trust Daddy. I knelt down and took her hand. Sophie, if anything ever scares you, tell me, okay? Okay. She nodded, but said nothing else. Her quiet gaze tightened something deep in my chest. I took Sophie to our neighbor Rachel's house. She used to teach Sophie how to paint. She's got a small fever. I lied. I need to handle some urgent work. Can you watch her for a few hours? Back home, I called the insurance company, pretending to be Liam, asking about the policy I found. After a few easy verification steps, just his birth date and the last digits of his social security, the worker confirmed. Yes, the policy is active. Benefits are now under review. In case of disappearance or unexplained death. They added. I hung up, my face pale. Liam had a plan. While gathering all the papers, my phone rang. Caller ID. Evelyn. Liam's mom. I answered, hesitant. Hello, Nora, Evelyn said, her voice always gentle but icy. Liam called me this morning. He said you've been a bit stressed lately. Is everything okay? I kept my voice steady. I'm just dealing with some paperwork about my mom's estate. A brief pause. Then Evelyn's tone turned sharp. He's been under a lot of stress. Nora, you know that. You shouldn't make Liam feel like you don't trust him. Especially now. You wouldn't want Sophie to grow up without a father. Would you? I gripped the phone. Are you threatening me? Oh, no. Just a reminder. She said. There are things you don't know. And sometimes knowing too much isn't good. I hung up before I could say something I'd regret. I was shaking. There was no doubt. They were setting a trap. That afternoon, I found another copy of the house's blueprint, old and marked in blue ink, hidden behind the bookshelf. On it was a note. B3, an odd label under the basement. An area I thought was just for storage. I decided to check it out. The old basement door creaked as I opened it. My flashlight beam danced across damp walls. I followed the blueprint, counting my steps until I reached a section of stone wall that looked off. The mortar was fresh, like it had been patched recently. I tapped it, it sounded hollow. Something was behind that wall. A room or a tunnel. Before I could do anything, I heard the front door open. Heavy footsteps echoed upstairs. Liam was home. I turned off the flashlight and stepped back, staying silent. His voice drifted down, calm and too steady. "Nora, where are you? I brought something for Sophie, and we need to talk about something important." I pressed into the shadows, my heart thumping like a drum. I had to decide, keep pretending or face the truth. But I knew one thing. If I stayed in this house tonight, I might not get another chance. I stood frozen in the basement, my heart pounding so loud I thought it might give me away. Liam's footsteps creaked above, slow and careful, like he was savoring the moment. I backed into the corner, pressing myself against the chilly wall. My phone buzzed once. Rachel's text. "Nora, Sophie wants to come home. Are you okay? Is something wrong?" I typed back quickly. "Don't let her come back. Keep Sophie safe. Lock the doors. Something's happening." Right then, the basement light flicked on. Liam's shadow stretched long down the narrow stairs. "Nora," his voice called, soft like honey. "I know you're here. We need to talk about your mom. About everything you've gotten wrong." I held my breath, my hand gripping the flashlight like it was a lifeline. A sharp beep, then a click. The basement light went out. I switched on my flashlight, its shaky beam cutting through the dark. Then I heard it, a mechanical noise. Not from the stairs, but from the windows. I bolted upstairs, but the basement door slammed shut and locked from the outside. I twisted the knob, it wouldn't move. I ran to the back door, locked. All the windows, all the exits, metal bars slid into place from the frames. Just like the security diagram I'd seen in Liam's files. No alarm, no warning, just silence. A faint smell of burning rubber and a hint of gasoline filled the air. I was in full panic. I tore through drawers, looking for the landline. It was disconnected. I ran to the front door, of course. It wouldn't open. I rushed to the dining room and pulled out the house plan I'd hidden. The underground path marked B3 was my only way out. I sprinted to the pantry, yanked open the shelves, and ran my fingers along the wall until I found a thin crack. I pressed, click, click. A section of the wall slid open, revealing a small, dusty door. I opened it. Inside was a narrow tunnel, just big enough for one person to crawl through. My heart raced, but I had no choice. I grabbed the flashlight and crawled in. The air was heavy, musty, smelling of old wood. I moved slowly, the dim light guiding me. Every sound behind me sent shivers down my spine. I didn't know if Liam had noticed I was gone, but I knew the house wouldn't be safe much longer. After what felt like forever, I saw a faint light ahead. I pushed through a rotted wooden door. It opened with a loud snap. I was behind the shed, next to a brick wall covered in moss. An open space with no cameras, no barriers. I didn't wait. I ran as fast as I could down the narrow path to Rachel's house. I pounded on her door, desperate. She opened it, her face pale when she saw me, covered in dirt, my face white as a ghost. "Oh my gosh, what?" "No questions. Call the police now." Sophie ran out and hugged me tight. "Mom." I held her close, shaking, and whispered in her ear, "We're never going back there. Do you understand? Never." Rachel called the police. I handed them everything, the fake insurance policy, photos of the altered security system, Liam's files, and the audio I'd recorded days earlier. Meanwhile, from Rachel's window, I watched my house catch fire. Flames burst from the basement, then spread across the first floor. The smell of burning plastic reached even Rachel's living room. Sophie buried her face in my shoulder, whispering, "I saw it in my dream, Mom, but this time we got away." I couldn't look away from the fire consuming every memory. For the first time in months, I felt alive, but I also realized my so-called husband was willing to do anything to make me vanish into the ashes. I sat on Rachel's couch, wrapped in a blanket, my arms still around Sophie. My mind was a storm of shock, anger, and disbelief. The flames outside still glowed through the window. The fire had swallowed everything: our home, our memories, and the lies that had gone on too long. The police arrived just minutes after Rachel called. A female officer named Harper entered. Professional but kind. "Miss Nora Thompson?" "Yes. We got calls from neighbors and the fire department. Your house is gone, but there's evidence this wasn't an accident. Can you start from the beginning?" I gave them everything I had. The fake life insurance policy, photos of the altered security system, copies of the notes I found in Liam's office, and the recording on my phone. Liam's voice saying to someone, "Make sure nothing is traceable." The officer looked through each document, her face growing more serious. "You said you were locked inside. Who has access to the security system?" "Liam Thompson, my husband. He said he was on a business trip to Singapore. But I'm sure that was a lie." Harper nodded. "We'll check financial records, traffic cameras, and travel logs. But to be thorough, I'll need to talk to Sophie. Do you consent?" I looked at my daughter. Sophie sat quietly beside me. Not crying, not scared. Her calm gaze stopped me for a moment. "You ready, sweetheart?" She nodded softly, then walked to the small table to sit across from Officer Harper. "Sophie," Harper asked gently, "did you hear anything strange from your father? Or notice anything unusual around the house?" "Daddy was on the phone," Sophie whispered. "I was listening behind the door. He said, if Mommy was gone, everything would be his. Then he said, make it look like an accident." Harper stopped writing and looked at me. "She's very clear. Was anyone else involved?" Sophie nodded. "Grandma Evelyn. She called Daddy too. I saw him smiling when he talked to her." Harper let out a breath. "We'll issue a summons for her investigation." That afternoon, the police searched my mother-in-law's house. Evelyn Thompson's home was just 15 minutes from ours. They found a file of investment plans in my name, hidden in her safe. There were also emails between her and Liam, discussing how to transfer my mom's inheritance after my disappearance. Liam was found later that day, trying to board a flight to Singapore for real this time. He claimed it was all a misunderstanding, but the evidence was too strong. The police charged him with attempted murder, fraud, and forgery. Evelyn was charged as an accomplice. As for me and Sophie, we moved into a small apartment in a new part of Portland. The gallery gave me some time off to recover, but I went back to work soon after. I needed something normal, something steady. Sophie started drawing again: bright flowers, sunny skies, and little houses with no shadows. One evening, as we sat on our new balcony, she looked at me and said, "Grandma's happy now, Mom." I smiled, pulling her close. "I think so too." The fear was gone, replaced by a quiet strength. We had lost our home, but we gained something better: our freedom, our safety, and a new start. Sometimes, the darkest moments lead to the brightest new beginnings. Nora and Sophie were ready to face whatever came next.